Hi, Mbalenhle. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. So let's talk then about what came out of this DPP briefing. What are some of the highlights for you?
Well, if we can actually go back to what was mentioned in the intro with regards to the success rate of these high-profile cases. Now, we've seen many of them really coming out. We've seen the former Minister of Arts and Culture, Gauteng, appearing in court.
Yes.
We are seeing also the case against former Speaker of Parliament, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. That is not the only one. We also know about the VBS bank heist challenge, and we also have the state capture related cases. All of those cases are still, well, no one has been prosecuted and no one has been, taken to prison as a result of those. And unfortunately, this is because, as the DPP has explained, that it seems as though those who are accused are fighting and challenging the courts very profusely in order to maintain their innocence in whatever is happening. And the DPP also mentions that there are a lot of delay tactics that are then used by some of these legal representatives representing those who are implicated in wrongdoing. And as a result, there has been very little to low prosecution rate in that regard in comparison to other cases such as femicide cases, which they have managed to prosecute 100% rather of those cases, and other cases really just involving other sorts of crimes such as murder and so on. But it seems as though the really difficult ones are the corruption charges, which are difficult to prove and difficult to then prosecute and get those, because we know that we are waiting to see what has happened with the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, the outcomes of those, the recommendations that have come out of there. And we have seen people appearing in court, but later seeing those charges being withdrawn because for various reasons. We saw recently that the charges were withdrawn by the courts, and these are all the challenges that the DPP actually explained to South Africans.
And I mean, we know, of course, even from a national picture, this office has really come under pressure, particularly because of those low prosecution rates. But he did also mention that they are lacking prosecutors with specialist skills. How much detail did he provide here in as far as the picture is concerned? I mean, how widespread is this in Gauteng?
Well, certainly, we have to realize that, in terms of these criminal cases or corruption-related cases, we understand that there is a need for some specialized skills. And unfortunately, they are unable to do that because there are forensic investigations, and you need to prove to the court beyond reasonable doubt that there is indeed, irrefutable evidence that would then place the person at the scene of the crime. And unfortunately, when it comes to corporate issues or corporate governance issues, as well as, commercial crimes, it is rather difficult to then prosecute, given that if you look at what happened before the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, there were emails, there were documents that were presented, there was evidence that was deposed of in the form of an affidavit. However, it would seem, based on what we have seen so far and the fact that we haven't been able to see any prosecutions, it would seem that evidence is not quite sufficient to then see prosecutions and those who are found in wrongdoing or have been implicated rather in wrongdoing being placed behind bars. And this is part of the reason, because everything needs to go through a microscope, or an investigator needs to, put a spotlight on everything and ensure that there is irrefutable evidence that is presented before the courts.
I mean, a lack of resources is one thing in as far as specialist skills are concerned. Did he mention anything about just how capacitated from a financial perspective this division also needs to be?
Okay, so at the moment we do understand that the state capture related cases are actually the child or are supposed to be prosecuted or rather investigated by the independent directorate, which has been set aside to do exactly that. And it has been doing its work, and this work does not fall under the DPP. However, they have been working hand in hand. And this is part of really just ensuring that the justice system is able to be capacitated in order to ensure that those matters are then prosecuted and do make their way to court and are treated with the importance and the urgency that they deserve. But the one thing that many South Africans are probably asking themselves is the Senzo Meyiwa case. Now that also came up during the briefing, where the DPP said that expressed happiness over the fact that he believes that they are turning the corner in that case. And while he does acknowledge that there have been some delays, which have been rather unfortunate, but he did inform the media and the public that the prosecution is really going to be closing their arguments very soon, and this will then allow for the defense to then take the stand, and obviously after that we should then be able to hear what the court's decision is pertaining to the Senzo Meyiwa case. The incident happened a while ago, many years ago, really more than 10 years ago, and the family of Senzo Meyiwa has been waiting for justice to be served and is waiting to this day to find out what indeed happened in that home.
And I mean, it will be all eyes on that particular case. I'm very keen to find out in terms of what he meant by especially happy with turning the tide. But thank you so much, Mbalenhle, for unpacking that for us. Mbalenhle Mthethwa just unpacking, of course, that earlier briefing by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions right here.